Hey guys, so today we're going to take a look at Chapter 12. Chapter 12 is very long, but it's really important because this is the turning point in our story when Bud finally gets to meet Herman E. Calloway. So let's take a look at question number one. Question number one says, why does Mr. Lewis send a telegram to Herman E. Calloway? Well, if we take a look in the story, it says, after you so rudely fell asleep on me, we dropped the blood off at Hurley Hospital. Then I gassed up. Then I got in touch with your daddy to let him know you were all right. Uh-oh, what did he say? I didn't call him. I sent a telegram to the log cabin. He still owns that club, doesn't he? Yes, sir. Good. Lefty Lewis leaned over and reached into the glove box of the car. He pulled out a flimsy piece of yellow paper and handed it to me. Across the top of the paper it said in big letters, Western Union. Underneath it said, Heck, stop. Bud OK in Flint, stop. At 4309 North Street, stop. Return 8 p.m. Wednesday, stop. Lefty, stop. Man, I'll bet Herman E. Calloway was just as confused by this message as I was. So if we were to answer question number one, why does Mr. Lewis send a telegram to Herman E. Calloway? He sends a telegram because he thinks that Bud's dad is worried about him and he wants him to know that Bud is okay. All right, let's look at question number two. Why does Bud count to 10 as the policeman talks to Mr. Lewis? So to answer this question, we need to go back into the story again. And if we take a look over here, it says, he opened his door and walked back to the police car. I tried to decide what to do. If I made a break for it, I was sure the coppers would plug me, but maybe Lefty Lewis would wrestle the gun away before they got a good shot off. Or maybe, just maybe, Lefty Lewis would take a bullet for me. Okay, I told myself, I'm going to count to 10. Then I'm going to reach into the back seat, snatch my suitcase, and hook out for those buildings. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, I'm going to count to 10 again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, this time I'm really going to grab that doggone. The cop and Lefty Lewis was standing at the door. The cop said, I want to take a look in the trunk. So why does Bud count to 10 as the policeman talks to Mr. Lewis? Well, Bud counts to 10 because he's counting to 10 to get the heck out of the car, right? He counts down to 10 and then his plan is to open up the car door and run for the buildings. But he's a little scared to do it. That's why he counts to 10 and he stays in the car and he doesn't go anywhere. And then he says he's going to do it again. He counts to 10, but by the time he can reach for the doorknob, the policemen are standing right there. All right, number 3. Why does Mr. Lewis want Bud to put the box under the seat before the policeman comes over to the car? Okay, so to answer this question, we need to go back into the story and we need to figure out what Lefty Lewis is doing with the box. So in the story it says, Lefty Lewis was back to acting normal, but I kept wondering who was in the box that he didn't want the cop to see. I said, what's a labor organizer, sir? Mr. Lewis said, in Flint, there are people who are trying to get unions in the automobile factories. Before I had a chance to get my next question in, Lefty Lewis said, I'm going to save your breath for you, Bud. I'll bet the next thing out of your mouth was going to be, what's a union, right? Yes, sir. A union is like a family. It's when a group of workers get together and try to make things better for themselves and their children. That's all, sir? That's all. Then why are the cops after them? That's a very good question. Look in the box you put under your seat. I pulled the box out and put it on my lap and looked over at Lefty Lewis. He looked back at me and checked the rearview mirror. Go ahead. I stopped for a second. Maybe there was a loaded or cocked pistol hiding in the box. Maybe Lefty Lewis would have shot it out with the cops if he tried to take us to jail. I started raising the top off the box, and just as I was about to get it open, Lefty Lewis moved a lot faster than you think somebody's granddad could and slapped his hand on top of it and closing it right back tight. Uh-oh. Maybe this was loot from a bank that him and Al Capone had knocked over. Maybe Lefty Lewis would have to rub me out if I saw what was inside. Maybe if I looked, I'd know too much. He said, before you look, Bud, you've got to understand that what is in there is very dangerous. I said, well, sir, I really don't think I need to see it, sir. I think I'll just look out the window until we get to Grand Rapids. Or maybe I'll give a fake yawn and maybe I'll take a nap. He laughed and said, oh, you're a lot smarter than you look, Bud, you know it. It would have been curtains for us if that copper would have seen what's in there. He tapped the top of the box. All I could say was, yes, sir. He said, go ahead and open it, Bud. You have to promise. No, you have to swear that you won't breathe a word about what you see to anyone. Mr. Lewis, sir, I'd rather take a nap. First open the box. I took a big gulp of air and started to raise the top of the box again. Lefty Lewis yelled, Bud! I jumped so high I nearly banged my head on the roof of the car. I yelled back, Yes, sir? I didn't hear you swear to keep your lips locked. Ah, shucks, Mr. Lewis, I swear, but if I'd feel a lot better if I could just take a doggone nap. I snatched the top off the box and got ready to be scared to death. It was just some paper with writing on it. Maybe the pistol or the loot was under the paper. I kept lifting paper until I got to the bottom of the box. Nothing. I looked at Lefty Lewis. He said, I warned you. Pretty dangerous, isn't it? I must have missed something. I went through the box again. How's some papers dangerous, sir? Read it. I took one of the papers out. It said, Attention railroad workers. The newly formed Grand Rapids branch of the Brotherhood of Pullman Porters will be holding an informational meeting on Wednesday, July the 23rd, 1936. All interested parties, please come to 2345 Cold Brook at 9 o'clock. Refreshments will be served. You know what we're up against. Please keep this confidential as possible. It was starting to make sense. I said, Mr. Lewis, are you one of those labor organizers? So now we have some idea as to why Mr. Lewis wanted Bud to put the box under the seat before the policeman came over to the car. It was because Mr. Lewis is a labor organizer and he had a big box full of labor papers for them to meet up about creating a union for the railroad workers. And at this time during history, it was illegal for them to do that. So that's why the box was very important, and that's why the box was put under the seat. All right, number 4, and last question. How do you think Bud feels when he realizes that Herman E. Calloway is very old? Provide evidence from the text to support your answer. Okay, so here in the story it says, I just kept walking onto the stage. I had to see my father's face. I knew we'd look so much alike that the truth would hit him as hard as the snaggletooth guy had. Even Lefty Lewis said he could tell me and Herman E. Calloway were kin. He turned to see who Jimmy was talking to, and my mighty maple started shaking in the wind. My dad's face was old. My dad's face was real old, just like this horn guy, maybe too old, but there was just too much proof that this was my father. So I think it's pretty obvious that Bud is very, very surprised when he sees that Herman E. Calloway's face is old. And in the text it says that he was very shocked to see that his face was old and that this old man was his dad, but he said that it had to be him, right? Because this is where the Flyers had landed them. All right, I hope that helps you guys answer the questions for Chapter 12.